the Bassett designer was really easy. Us being young professionals, we're so busy, there was no way we could have designed it ourselves.
It just kind of ties in very well.
We love it.
The HGTV Home Design Studio by Bassett. Are you ready for your big reveal?
Erectile dysfunction is a very serious medical issue. Over 60% of men over the age of 40 experience this. We realize this at the Carolina Men's Clinic. For a limited time, the office visit is only $89. 704-981-0048.
This broadcast is sponsored in part by Hendrick Automotive Group. Live from Charlotte, this is WBTV News on your side.
We have come here today to honor a man of God.
The Reverend Billy Graham is now home. Today, he was laid to rest next to his wife, Ruth, here in Charlotte. Family and friends sharing their love and memories.
On February the 21st, heaven came down and took my brother from me.
My father was not God, but he showed me what God was like that day.
He was faithful, he was available, and he was teachable.
Now at 5, we're showing you how the world is saying goodbye to the man known as America's pastor one final time. And a pleasant Friday evening to you all. I'm Paul Cameron.
And I'm Molly Grantham. The Reverend Billy Graham's casket was buried about an hour ago. You can see the video of the intimate ceremony here. We've brought you complete coverage of Reverend Billy Graham's funeral all day, and we continue our team coverage tonight. Let's begin with David Wisnett. He is live right now from the Billy Graham Library.
Now, David, earlier you said that the service resembled one of the Crusades in many ways. That's the sort of the tone I took from it as well.
Very much so, Paul. It was held in a large tent. There was special music, and even though this was Billy Graham's funeral, it was really more about the message than the man.
For more than 8 decades, Mr. Graham preached the good news of the gospel.
For Billy Graham, today marked the fulfillment of that good news that he proclaimed for nearly all of his life. Today, his children remembered their father by echoing his message.
Heaven came down and filled my soul with glory. On February the 21st, heaven came down and took my brother from me.
Anne Graham Lotz said her father's death was a sign from God to the world.
And I believe this is a shot across the bow from heaven. And I believe God is saying, wake up, church. Wake up, world. Wake up, Anne. Jesus is coming.
The service that Billy Graham himself had approved years ago did in many ways mirror his crusades. From musical performances by artists like Michael W. Smith and the Gaither Vocal Band, to the personal message heard today by world leaders, celebrities, and dignitaries beneath the great tent, and those watching and listening across the world, delivered by Franklin Graham in the same simple and personal terms used by his father.
If he could speak to you today, he would ask, will you be making this journey to heaven someday? My father's greatest longing has been granted. He's in the presence of God.
The service closed with the familiar hymn, "To God Be the Glory," and it was even more familiar than most because in 2007, when this library was dedicated, that's the same hymn that was used to close that service, because for Billy Graham, that's what it's always been about, giving God the glory. Live in Charlotte, David Wisnett, WBTV, on your side.
David, there were certainly some light-hearted moments during the service, but I thought that Anne Graham Lotz not only looked a little like her father, but sounded an awful lot like him.
I would definitely agree with that. She is well known for the books that she has written and a lot of public speaking that she does, but you're exactly right. She sort of had that same look, she had that same tone, and she was more like, I guess, maybe the Billy Graham of the early to mid-70s, just very forceful, very powerful, very energetic in sharing her message today. I think you're right.
It's been a long, long day, but my compliments to the entire crew that's been on hand giving us great coverage today. David, you're one of them. Thanks so much. Molly?
Well, Paul, today's gathering to celebrate Reverend Billy Graham's life featured a group of notable people from all walks of life, religious leaders, politicians, and more, lined the rows joining the Reverend Graham's family and close friends in prayer. WBTV's Colleen Harry was inside this tent as well. She joins us live. Colleen, with all these important people in attendance, we saw the line. Security was so tight.
It was pretty tight, 2,300 dignitaries and guests, and as far as we know, there were no problems, no security issues. And as you mentioned, Molly, lots of people, presidents, the vice president, governors, religious leaders, close friends packed the tent. Heavy security covered the Billy Graham Library. Secret Service and police checked everyone invited to the private funeral service for the Reverend Billy Graham. From ministers to cardinals of the Catholic Church to television hosts, there were more than 2,000 individual and different stories about why these dignitaries and guests came to Billy Graham's funeral.
I remember the funny things, like him coming to my house and we said, "Can we get you anything?" And he goes, "Anything?" And we said, "Anything." I remember my husband go, because he was such a fan, and he goes, "Could I have a Big Mac?" And so my husband went to McDonald's.
Just thinking about all the good that he did in the world, just you know, the life that he lived, how he finished his course, and just his humility, and you know, just taking that moment to pause and say thank you.
And coming up later on WBTV News at 6, we'll hear more from the guests and the dignitaries about how Billy Graham impacted them and why they had to come. For now, we're live in Charlotte. Colleen Harry, WBTV, on your side.
All right, Colleen, thanks so much. Pope Francis released a statement today about the passing of Reverend Billy Graham. It reads in part, "Mindful of his long and dedicated service to the gospel, His Holiness commends Reverend Graham's soul, the merciful love of the Almighty God." Pope Francis also says he invokes the divine blessings of peace and consolation in the Lord Jesus for those who mourn Reverend Graham.
Well, Reverend Billy Graham's legacy is felt around the world now and will continue to have an impact going forward, even though he's no longer with us. Our team coverage continues tonight with WBTV's Steve Crump. He is live. Steve, you were there today as well and heard the whole thing.
Well, the tent here pretty much emptied out, and you talk about today's service, 1 hour, 15 minutes. That's how long it took for admirers to say goodbye to Billy Graham. Now, every seat under the tent pretty much taken, people sitting shoulder to shoulder. And in many ways, the service today had the feel of a Billy Graham crusade. There were prayers, singing, yes, a very strong message. And we learned more about Billy Graham, his relationship with his wife Ruth, and the deep commitment to his faith. One telling moment came from Franklin Graham as he brought his father's eulogy to a close.
My mother, his mother, father, friends, clapping, cheering, bells ringing, trumpets blowing. Not because it was Billy Graham. It's just another child of God had come home.
2,300 people under this tent this afternoon, and even though Billy Graham no longer with us, his legacy continues to live on. For now, we're live at the Graham Library. Steve Crump, WBTV, on your side.
All right, Steve, thanks so much. Right now, with the conclusion of the funeral services, Billy Graham Parkway is getting back open. Here's a live look at our traffic map. You can see that all lanes are flowing during the evening commute. The major thoroughfare in West Charlotte was shut down late last night, to prepare for today's service.
Well, despite the high winds at some points today, you couldn't really pick a better day for Reverend Billy Graham's funeral service.
Those Carolina blue skies, but you know, it's still pretty windy in parts of the Carolinas. Here's a live look from our HD tower cam. And let's get more from meteorologist Eric Thomas.
Yeah, Paul, that high wind warning remains in effect for the mountains and the foothills. That's going to continue overnight through noon tomorrow on Saturday, and they could still see gusts as high as 55 miles per hour up this way. So some more scattered power outages should be anticipated up that way. Meantime, wind advisory, gusts up to 35 miles per hour for the entire greater Charlotte area, including the upstate of South Carolina. Here's a look at the maximum wind gusts that we have had so far today. Boone, exactly where they were thinking, about 60 mile per hour. And you'll see here across the Piedmont of North and South Carolina, we are talking wind gusts 30 to 40, certainly throughout the day today. In the meantime, your forecast winds, well, they'll be dying down through the evening hours, and in fact, probably only 10 to 20 through most of the evening. Of course, still 40 to 50, as said, if not gusts even as high as 60 up there around Boone and Blowing Rock. Temperatures right now, they won't bother you. Still close to 60 here in the Piedmont. If you're out the door this evening, 46 at 9, take you down to about 43. Through the 11 o'clock hour. All right, coming back, of course, a beautiful weekend. We'll talk more about this storm system and the wind. It's all part of your 7-day First Alert forecast.
Okay, Eric, thanks. One thing everyone in attendance to today's funeral service for Reverend Graham they could agree on is that they called him a friend.
Next at 5, Paul, we're hearing some of the personal stories from those who knew him well.
Plus, arrests made in a grisly homicide investigation in Lancaster. New details in a case where a man's body was found dismembered.
And we are on your side today, providing free legal information in partnership with the North Carolina Bar Association. These are live pictures in our other studio. More on what you can learn today just by calling the number you see there on your screen.
It all starts with people making that phone call. Without that feedback from the community, we wouldn't be able to do most of our investigation. They have information that they want to get out, but they have exhausted all of their other options. We're on your side. That means making sure you get the answers that you deserve.
Tonight, it's Undercover Date Night on MacGyver and 5-0.
Congratulations, you just got hitched.
With wedding bells.
This is great. Eskimo kisses. Like, wow.
And then on Hawaii.
You're gonna pose as prospective parents, see what you can learn. Are you picking up on the chemistry going on?
It's like they're married. New Hawaii 5-0 after a new MacGyver. Feel the love. CBS tonight. He loves his neighbor's cooking, but she wants more.
Tomorrow it's going to be, how does she get you down the aisle? We are ending this.
Can you imagine the food at the reception? It would be ridiculous. A new Kevin Can Wait Monday.
OfferPad is a direct home buyer, and we believe it's the easiest way to sell your home. You can go to our website, you can give us the information about your home, and we'll get you a purchase offer within 24 hours. We're committed to giving homeowners the ultimate home selling experience.
If you're injured in an accident, the choice is simple. Call the law offices of James Scott Farron. The case evaluation is free, but the information may be priceless. An experienced firm like the law offices of James Scott Farron may be able to tell you what your case is worth, and it's probably worth more than you've been told. But unless you call right now, how will you know for sure? Call on the Hurt Line, the law offices of James Scott Farron, right now.
Scott Clark again. Select from over 50 used vehicles under $10,000. ScottClark.com.
A lot of places are jumping on the biscuit bandwagon, but Bojangles has been making made-from-scratch biscuits for 40 years. And that's why our biscuits are the best in town.
Head to Bojangles and get 2 country ham biscuits for just $3. Bojangles, it's Bo time.
Make time to escape to the coast and enjoy 60 miles of beautiful beaches and let the sound of the ocean's tide take you to your happy place. Now's the perfect time to book your spring getaway to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Besides, you deserve it. Seize your moment now and come, let go, and unwind on Myrtle Beach Time.
Let go and unwind on Myrtle Beach Time.
At Discount Tire, we know you might need tires to drive like this, or like this, or even like this. That's why we provide personalized service. So no matter where you drive, you can count on us to help you find the right tires for your needs and your budget. Discount Tire, America's neighborhood tire store.
We just found our perfect home.
And to make sure we didn't miss out, we sold this home to OfferPad.
We went to OfferPad.com, entered basic information, and the next day, we had a great offer. OfferPad gave us a great value.
And we wouldn't have it any other way.
Request your free purchase offer today.
He loved the Bible. It governed how he lived, and it governed how he died.
The Reverend Billy Graham's longtime pastor, Dr. Don Wilton, speaking and praying today at his funeral.
And Ruth Graham, Billy's youngest daughter, made a comment today that almost everyone has a Billy Graham story. Well, WBTV's Sarah Blake Morgan found out that is true. She joins us now live. And Sarah Blake, there were plenty of people there who called Reverend Graham a true friend.
There were, Paul, and it was incredible to hear their stories, and many of them were the same. These people saying that Billy Graham was the same man that we saw preaching on a massive stage to thousands of people as he was off the stage. And they say that humble spirit started early on in his ministry. Quietly, she sat in her wheelchair. 97 years have taken Wilma Wilson's ability to do a lot, but she wouldn't let age stop her from being here today.
She wanted to come. It's harder for her at this age. She's going to be 98 in June.
and but she wanted to be here.
Billy Graham was known as family to Wilma and her late husband Grady Wilson. Their daughter Connie says her dad was there from the very first chapter of Graham's story.
They were teenagers together, and Daddy was with him the night he accepted the Lord.
They were both evangelists and traveled the world together, sharing the love of Christ on massive stages. Here, Wilson is with George Beverly Shea, Graham, and Cliff Barrows. But to Connie, the great Billy Graham was simply Uncle Billy.
I called him Uncle Billy.
You called him Uncle Billy.
Yeah.
What do you think he would think about all this?
I think he'd say it's too much, Billy. It needs to be more about the Lord.
Really? Longtime Charlotte pastor Loran Livingston agrees. You knew this man on a personal level. What do you think he would think of all this?
I think he would be upset at the publicity, but I think he would be very pleased that the same old gospel message he preached all of his life was preached again today, over and over again, and around the world.
The question keeps being asked, will we ever see another Billy Graham? Livingston knows we won't.
God doesn't make duplicates. He calls each person to do a certain thing, and they must do it well.
This was a full circle moment for Wilma Wilson. Her husband Grady, now reunited with his old friend Billy in heaven.
They're together again. Yep.
So many incredible stories, but especially amazing to hear that woman say her father was there the night that Billy Graham gave his heart to Christ, which essentially started the movement that culminated here this evening. Back to you guys.
Sarah Blake Morgan, thanks so much. We have much more coming up on the life and legacy of Reverend Billy Graham in this newscast. Stay with us right here. You can also visit WBTV.com/Billy Graham.
But right now, Paul, we have some breaking news. One person arrested after an armed robbery in East Charlotte turns into a standoff with police. Officers say that suspect robbed someone on the plaza and then took off in a vehicle. They say that person jumped out of a vehicle and ran, leading to a standoff with police before officers took them into custody. Police have not yet said if anyone was hurt, but nearby, Hidden Valley Elementary and Martin Luther King Jr. Middle Schools were both on lockdown today during this incident.
At new at 5 o'clock, CMPD released body camera footage from a deadly officer-involved shooting just a month ago. This when officers responded to a call for a suicide attempt on Timberbrook Drive in northwest Charlotte. Now, we're going to warn you, some of this video is very graphic.
Get on the ground, man. I don't want to have to shoot you. Get on the ground. I don't want to shoot you. Get on the ground. On the ground. On the ground. On the ground.
That was the voice and camera of Officer Daniel Flynn, the man who fired his weapon on Charlie Stroop. This is now another officer's camera who witnessed the shooting. Officers say that Stroop would not drop a knife that he was holding. CMPD says Officer Flynn fired his gun after perceiving an imminent deadly threat. CMPD is conducting an internal investigation to determine whether that officer followed CMPD policies and procedures that is separate from the SBI investigation. And we have links to all of the body camera video in full on our website on WBTV.com. Right now, 2 people have been charged in a connection to a homicide in Lancaster after human remains were found yesterday. Christopher Holford and Brandy Duncan are both behind bars, accused of killing a man and dismembering his body. WBTV's Alex Giles was at the news conference in Lancaster today. He has more details on this case, new at 5.
Just a very disturbing story. Charges now being brought against 2 people who deputies say lived with the young man that was killed. Family members tell me this is Austin Steele, and today he would have turned 19 years old. Relatives told me over the phone he had his problems, but was also a giving, caring, kind-hearted person. The sheriff in Lancaster County says Steele lived with Christopher Holford and Brandy Duncan. Investigators believe Steele was shot one night several weeks ago. Once he died, his body was dismembered. Detectives found body parts in different locations across the property along High Point Circle, along with a revolver, axe, broken sword, and knives. Holford is now charged with murder, and Duncan is charged as an accessory.
I would never imagine that we would find or have someone living in Lancaster County capable of doing these kind of things. I just wouldn't believe it. Probably one of the worst cases I've experienced in my 28 years.
The sheriff says he's not aware of a motive yet for the killing of Austin Steele. This case remains under investigation. Reporting in Lancaster County, South Carolina, Alex Giles, WBTV, on your side.
Alex, thank you. WBTV's on your side tonight, partnering with the North Carolina Bar Association For All Statewide Service Day to bring you some free legal information. Molly Grantham has moved over to the Patterson studio where lawyers are now taking some calls. So, anyone can get free legal information today, right, Molly?
Tons of people, Paul, have gotten free legal information today. They've had hundreds of calls. These are all lawyers here in our Patterson studio taking calls. You can see they're all on the phone right now. I asked what kinds of calls they're getting because you at home watching this right now can call and get any legal information you want. They say they've gotten a lot of calls about family issues, closing out estates, speeding tickets, things that sometimes you might need a little bit of help with, but you don't want to spend the couple $100 it might be to call an attorney and pick up that phone and call an office. You can call here today for free. And the number is on your screen. It's 866-616-4 all, ALL. And all these attorneys, can you hear the phones ringing behind me? They're all on the phone talking with lots of different people. They say they just had a call right before I came in here, someone calling about their tax returns. How many years should you really keep them? So it runs the gamut. Feel free to use the phone number. We have it here for you today to get some free information for you at home. Back to you, Paul.
All right, Molly, may have to run in there in just a few minutes. We talked about the Carolina blue skies, but oh, the wind. Boy, was it blustery today, and there's a big nor'easter going on. But here's Eric Thomas to tell us good weekend ahead.
And it's amazing, Paul. The center of the storm is over the North Atlantic, and yet we're still experiencing these winds here. And as a footnote, we're all focused on the wind. How about a foot of snow? In eastern New York out of this, and 6 inches of rain just south of Boston. All right, we'll pull it back. And of course, you look at this map and you think, well, okay, we're in the clear. Well, not so fast. Again, massive wind field around this. What I popped up here are the lines of equal pressure, and the more tightly these are packed, the stronger the wind field. And look at how this wind field extended all the way down into the Carolinas. And so as a result, high wind gusts all over the place across the mid-Atlantic, the Northeast. We already saw a maximum wind gust of 60 miles per hour. There it is around Boone. You see 40 to sometimes 50 mile per hour wind gusts in Virginia, 53 in Richmond. You heard about the problems they were having with Air Force One trying to take off out of D.C. Well, there's why. That's a 60 mile per hour wind gust. I've heard about disruptions with Amtrak between D.C. and Boston. And look at this, 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts all up through eastern Pennsylvania. Let's up a little bit here in the upstate of New York, but still even Boston itself with a 60 mile per hour wind gust there throughout the day today. Meanwhile, more details around the local area. We averaged between 30 and 40 mile per hour wind gusts in our region. Of course, there's that 60 mile per hour gust again up there around Boone. We had wind gusts on Grandfather Mountain of around 102 miles per hour up there. My goodness gracious. Meanwhile, it's Friday evening. If you're heading out, take your jacket because just like the wind, the temperatures will be falling off briskly into the 40s. What about everybody else? We'll roll on this through the 11 o'clock hour. Below freezing up here across the mountains. You still have that high wind warning up there we talked about earlier, so be very careful heading out up there. Otherwise, again, upper 30s, lower 40s across the Piedmont. Just let this roll. You see the storm system remaining off the coast of New England, and for everybody else, it's just about that wind as it gradually begins to decrease over time, but still blustery. 28, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, there it is in the high country, and a stiff breeze and a chilly start here, 38 in the Piedmont of North and South Carolina. 7-day first alert forecast then. Here you have it. Nice day. A gusty wind still around on Saturday, a breeze on Sunday, but outside of that, a beautiful weekend on tap. Another front in here Tuesday. Look for showers out of that. And therefore, and after, we have just some seasonal temperatures. That's the way it looks right now. Lindsay DePassis at 5:30.
All right, Eric, thanks. An Iredell County teen arrested after deputies say they found a loaded gun in his car parked on a high school campus.
What charges he's now facing and the message authorities are sending to students.
Plus, we're continuing our coverage, honoring the life of Reverend Billy Graham. Details on President Donald Trump and Vice President Mike Pence's visit to Charlotte to pay respects.
Closed captioning on WBTV News is sponsored by Subaru South Boulevard and Subaru Concord.
Come to Rug & Home to take home a dining table today or custom design the dining table of your dreams. Find unique solid wood dining in stock to customizable options where you pick the legs, the finish, and every other detail. Custom dining 40% off and solid wood dining group 70% off with blockbuster sale. Rug & Home.
Oh, that's lovely. So graceful. The corkscrew spin, flawless. His signature move, the Flying Dutchman. Poetry in motion.
And there it is, the baby bird.
Breathtaking.
A sumo wrestler figure skating? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much money Heather saved by switching to Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
I know what I want from my energy company. I want to know that my power is always on and that my energy is cleaner, safer, and affordable. That's why, as a Duke Energy lineman, I'm working hard to make that possible. I feel honored to serve our community. It's a good feeling knowing that I'm helping to build a smarter, reliable energy future for all of us, for my family and for yours.
It's time to take a road trip.
Burn rubber for Birmingham, where you can feed your need for speed at Barber Motorsports Park and Museum. Now this gets my motor running. Meet Iron Men. Hey there, big guy. And make a date with your 9-iron. Feed the animals at the zoo and the birds. Then enjoy the award-winning restaurant scene. Alabama has a road trip with your name on it.
Which one you gonna take?
So we're here at the mouth of the cave that no one has set foot in for over 1 million years. Let's go check it out. Look, there's signs of an ancient civilization. Now all this looks like some type of a calendar.
Hi. Just came down here to leave you a little note. New scratch-off tickets come out the first Tuesday of every month.
New scratch-offs?
Yeah, first Tuesdays.
First Tuesday of every month.
Echo, echo.
New scratch-offs available March 6th with over $45 million in total prizes.
Tuesday.
I know it's never convenient for your heat system to break down, but I'm here to help you any day, anytime, because it's what I do.
Hi, I'm Mike Fowler with 1 Hour Heating and Air. Our people provide the kind of service you're going to love. It's what we do.
Get ready for a Queen City weekend you'll never forget. See what's happening right here in your own backyard. Start planning your next big adventure at queencityweekend.com.
There are still hundreds of rugs at 70 plus 20% off, but these are the final days of the Blockbuster sale. A large selection of contemporaries are 70% off, and many an additional 20 off. 12 months same as cash, and $1,500 wool rugs for just $2.99. Hurry in, Rug and Home.
Because he lives, I can face tomorrow. Because he lives, all fear is gone.
That's a portion of a beautiful rendition of Because He Lives, performed by the Bill Gaither Vocal Band at today's funeral service. Great music today. Now here's Jamie with a look at what's coming up next.
We're going to continue our live team coverage as we remember the life and legacy of America's pastor. Ahead, we'll hear more remarks from family members on their father's impact on millions of people around the world. Plus, we've got details on the president's and vice president's trip to Charlotte as they paid their respects to Reverend Graham as well. Much more to come. Keep it right here.
I just sold my home, and it only took me a day to get a great offer. I used OfferPad. It's the new way homes are sold, and it's easy. I entered simple information about my home, and the next day I had their best price up front.
OfferPad. Request your free purchase offer today.
The new Steak and Shake Prime Steak Burger. The world's best big burger. That's the sound it makes. A sound steak lovers understand. That's the sound of the perfect blend of beef. 6 ounces of the finest all-natural brisket and chuck. The sound of something so big, you have to put a steak knife in it. The new Prime Steak Burger, only at Steak and Shake.
Call the law offices of James Scott Farron on the Hurt Line.
At Babcock, no credit refused isn't just an offer, it's a way of business and has been for over 100 years. No banks, no ridiculous credit requirements. Just local Babcock store owners who treat you right and give you credit when others won't. It's never been easier to express your style and love your home.
We're from the future. 2 whole minutes in the future where you already got financing from drivetime.com. You even know your down payment.
There's no way I could know all that in 2 minutes.
Are you calling you a liar?
So you guys figured out time travel and you can only go 2 minutes?
Yep. You warned us you'd be difficult.
I am difficult.
See your financing in 2 minutes and shop over 10,000 vehicles. The Drive Time Machine, only at drivetime.com.
At Discount Tire, we know you might need tires to drive like this.